I'm Chong from KPMG. I'm a director there with the advisory service in KPMG. Our goal is to advise and help our clients to look at a number of things, in this case about green IT and what it means to them and how they can apply it within their own organization. The session I had this afternoon with the folks here covered around, is green viable? What are the economic considerations that we should take into account when looking at green IT as a whole? There are many things that we can do to improve both short-term and long-term. From a short-term perspective, the easiest thing one could have immediate impact will be reduce the amount of printing in terms of paper that we produce on a daily basis. And one of the things I shared with the delegates here is within my own organization we've implemented a strategy in terms of accountability of what we print and translate that number of pages that we print into a cost. So all of us can actually see the number of pages we print translating into a dollar amount. And that has immediate impact for us in terms of making us stop and think, do I really need to print this number of pages from this document or this report? And what we've seen, because of the dollar signs that we are physically visualizing, we're actually reducing. And the measure that we have now is that the amount of printing that we do is much lesser than we had before. And the benefits will be, we are actually reducing the amount of electricity bill that we pay for in terms of the use of the printer, the consumables in terms of toner and maintenance support required on supporting the printer, and as well as in many ways we are reducing our own carbon footprint as a result of that. So those are short term. And if you start to think about longer term, what I share with the delegates here is treat the data center, because the data center is where the majority of the utilization and consumption of, say, power consumption, and where most of the servers that we have are located. So the data center should not be seen as I install it once and it's left. We should look at different strategies of improving it. And one of the things I shared as well was look at the whole information life cycle and think about how we store information. Do I have a single copy of a document, or do I have multiple copies of that same document located on different drives, which in turn would utilize a lot more cost because we're storing it on different devices and we're buying more devices to store even more information. So it's about cleaning up, tidying up, looking at different strategies and replacing old processors with new ones, because the efficiency of new processors are far better than the existing one. And what you begin to see, for example, if you look at the Intel family, the generations 3 years ago to now, there's a power improvement in terms of utilization of 30 to 50%. But at the same time, you do not lose out, partly because the improvement on the processing power has grown rather than diminish. So we can look at all those things and look at information, how long we store information, determine what we need online, things that are important to us, versus those things that are not so important in terms of speed. We need to retrieve them to a nearline storage, and finally offline. So we must have a strategy to take things off the system and keep it away and free up more space. So all those things can be done longer term, as well as looking at the way we implement our data center strategy as a whole, in terms of the design of the cabinets, in terms of the way we cool it, and the way that the cabinets themselves are optimized. So in the sort of 40 minutes that we had, I was able to share that green does not mean expensive. In fact, green is better if you do it right, and it's cheaper to do so. So it's a very positive message in terms of implementing green technology as a whole, and it has a major benefit both from meeting potential future regulatory requirements for clean, because all governments are conscious of the carbon footprint the country is producing, as well as improving the image of the company itself as being socially responsible. So there are benefits. The number one, from an economic driver, is if you don't do it right and the new government regulations comes in, you'll be penalized, and you have to pay penalties for it. So why pay when you can improve on it? Two, green is actually cheaper if you do it right longer term, because I'm using less power to run my data centers, and also I can actually improve the image of the organization. So we're seen as being socially responsible, as well as in creating a brand that we do care about the environment. All right, I always share that.
Yeah.
Between everything from what I need online, because if I keep a lot of information online whether I need it or not, guess what? I'm consuming a lot more power again. I got more sort of disk drives running, but I don't need to. So look at the whole information life cycle from the creation to disposal. There's also requirements within good practices within the industry to say how long should I keep a record to be available at any one time that I need to retrieve. So those are things that we look at the life cycle and say, these are information I need today. These are things that I've, in terms of whether it's a transaction or a record that's no longer valid or is finished, completed. So I should take them off the online system to a nearline system over a period, and then eventually archive it totally offline. And the other thing is, like you and I, you look at our Outlook, we keep copies of everything everywhere. So guess what? We're using up space, using up this storage, which also costs the company. So why need multiple copies when one copy will do? So there are strategies in there to look at information. Say, don't keep multiple copies, because on top of that it confuses everyone, which is the most recent copy, which is the most accurate copy. So information lifecycle is looks at the way we create it, the way you use it, the way we share it, the way we then, in a sense, retain it, and then eventually the way we archive it and then dispose of it. So things are no longer relevant, it's finished, can be disposed. Once we look at the, in a sense, the legal requirement, and lots of, for example, governments have stated that certain records need to be kept between 4 to 7 years. After the 7 years is finished, the official time period, then you can dispose of it. So I don't need to keep it. The problem today is that this storage is cheap, so you keep buying. But cheap to buy the devices, but it's costly to run it, costly to manage it. Because even though the storage physical device is cheap, for example, you can buy 1 terabyte for about $300 in Singapore. But when you plug it into your server, it's consuming electricity. That electricity cost is going up, not going down. Year on year, prices are increasing. So if I don't need it, because I've optimized my data storage, that physical disk storage is redundant. If I take it out, I remove the cost of electricity, I remove the cost and effort for the individual to maintain it. It's a relevant topic. It's very important because, again, I share with the delegates that Singapore is looking itself as the information technology hub. So data centers are important because Singapore would like to attract major organizations that have information technology requirements in terms of content or actual delivery of services to Singapore. So understanding how we do it and do it well within Singapore is very, very important.